Olá, boa tarde. Yes. So this should do the work. Can you listen to me? Yes. So happy to be here, and I'm representing the European Patent Office. I will give some words out regarding what is this institution all about, but then go into some issues that may be of practical utility, and hopefully disclose some figures, some recent facts that we were able to find regarding the university system in Europe, with an outlook regarding Portugal, and also some words on the Algarve. Yeah, so hopefully I will not tire you so much, but if I'm boring, this is already my degree of measuring success. The basic point is to stress how intangible assets are now a focus, and how they also liberate some extra value from strategic point of view regarding intelligence. All right, so some words regarding the European Patent Office. The European Patent Office is today headed by a Portuguese citizen, António Campinos, from the Algarve, and he was the head of the Portuguese Patent Office before, and the institution has headquarters in Munich, and also branches out to Austria, the Netherlands, and Belgium because of Brussels. The European Patent Office is not an EU institution. It is based on a different agreement between countries. It has a wider number of countries than the EU, 39, plus states that recognize its work. I will just explain what the work is all about, but to give you the impression of the size, it's the second largest international organization in Europe, with over 6,000 employees. Most of them are patent examiners. So those experts that are actually processing the applications for protection of new inventions. And these are recruited widely in Europe, and they are actually top experts, and it's very difficult to retain this kind of people, because when they go out, they are very valuable as knowledge brokers, because they know the law and the technologies. So it's very important to understand that an institution like this is actually showing us that it's one of the big traditions in Europe to nurture technological expertise, and the patents that are granted by DPO are possibly the most robust in the world, because the examiners, they speak many languages, they have a tremendous amount of training, and the final output of the office, which is to grant the patents, these assets are extremely strong in court. So they resist opposition very much. So last year, it was the 50 years of the basic treaty, the European Patent Convention on which the EPO stands as the executive branch, that gives us also an impression that what we understand by European construction is not limited to the EU. The EU is just a part, because we have the European Space Agency, we have Eurocontrol for air traffic, and these are other institutions of a technical expertise, and Europe is much more than European Union. Sorry. So I was asked to focus a little bit on the IP. So the IP, you know, is a sort of portfolio of instruments. I will just focus on patents, but I could not resist to highlight a trademark for a city here in the Algarve. Silves are known for the oranges. Actually, in their Arab countries, the word Portugal means orange. The Muslims brought the orange here, and that's what we mean, at least in the Mediterranean. It's a very good association, actually. So there are many ways to get protection around intangibles, but for the specific mechanism of having a patent, you need an idea that it's not only novel, it has to be ahead of the technological frontier, one step ahead of the technological frontier, that has to be meaningful, not trivial. Meaningful also in an industrial sense, in an application sense. Many times, talking with examiners, I hear very sad stories from university inventors that, for instance, have just submitted a patent, but 3 months before, they went into a conference, they presented their work, and they left evidence of that in the papers and proceedings output of the conference. This is already enough not to grant the patent, because that's already state of the art. You cannot patent, you cannot privatize the state of the art. This sad story happens, I think, every week. It happened last week. So it's not trivial, and the universities should have a role in these intangibles literacy. So some missteps are really easy to avoid. So I told you what you cannot patent. One thing is, of course, previous knowledge, because it may be patent already, or it's not patentable. And the things that are not patentable are discoveries having to do with nature itself, but a number of other specificities that in the law are well established. I give you here a number of examples, but the point is that patents are an institution. You have to know them. They are a human creation. They are a legal artifact. And the knowledge regarding how to manage it is something that scientists should incorporate. Even because there are two sides for the patents, as I will explain. It's not just appropriation, it's more than that. So in the particular business of Patent Office, and the European Patent Office is one of the 5 largest in the world. It compares itself with the US one, with the Chinese one, Japanese one, and South Korean one. They comprise the IP5. And many times when we have external shocks, like breakthrough technologies that actually will impact the business of the institution, it's important for this institution to have a positioning that is sort of future-proof. Yeah. So what do you do when you have the massification of artificial intelligence? Yeah. So a number of things have to be done. Maybe not in the law, maybe not in the patent convention, but in the standards of interpretation of the law vis-à-vis the new technologies. So you have to say something regarding the patentability of an object, abstract object, that has been derived by by artificial intelligence. Is it patentable or not? So here are just some print screens from the website regarding these challenges. Yeah, of course, the examiners now can use artificial intelligence to dig through the extant material of previous patents to ascertain if a claim is actually distinctive from what is already known. Yeah, so AI can help with that. But of course, AI is so pervasive, it has so many aspects that the governance of the institution that has to be very strong in court. This has to be continuous work. All right, so now I will go more into what an institution like this, that is more than an institution that stamps intellectual property, what is being done. And for that we must go to the very nature of what are patents. So a patent, in the beginning of the history of this legal artifact, was actually the opposite of what it is today. So a patent was invented in the Venice Republic around, 15th century, even earlier, and a patent was exclusive right to practice some sort of craft for 14 years. 14 years was time enough to at least train 2 experts in the job. So the patents were given out to foreigners that would bring the knowledge and apply in Venice. But there was a quid pro quo. You had the obligation to train people in the knowledge, and then you lose the monopoly after 14 years. Today is 20 years. So you see, it's not just appropriation, it's also dissemination of knowledge. So this property of, this characteristic of patents, it's a very strategic one, especially for catching up economies and for catching up regions, because there are many clues in patents of what is going on. Yeah. So basically, a patent liberates information. So when it releases information, this gives the European Patent Office some sort of leeway to be much more proactive in injecting the proper conditions for more waves of creativity to take place. And the thing is that we have not only characteristics regarding the document that codifies technical knowledge, but also all the meta information about it, around it, like opposition. Who is opposing who? Who are the contenders? This is something that we may know from this galaxy of information-related assets that derive from patents themselves. So patent information is very important because many times it's frustrating for inventors to find out that another person, another company has already invented, yeah? But the sooner you know, the less you waste resources. So it's very important to have some sort of understanding regarding prior art, yeah? To avoid redundancy. Of course, prior art is very important for you to invent around and build upon. So this is also very important to stretch current technological trajectories. Of course, especially for lawyers, this is very strategic information. And for policymakers, the information that is comprised in the form of patent is also very important because aggregating patent information gives you patterns that you may incorporate in your policy-making exercises. So for instance, this particular resource called SpaceNet is containing many million of patent documents. This is searchable for free, and it can be used many times even by scientists to consider that as prior art, that it's not scientific. Yeah, especially when we talk about universities that want to come out into the market, many times scientists only refer to scientific documentation. I think today, when we merge research and innovation, this is not enough. And I think that the doctoral students are not being trained, Mr. Vice Dean, on the art of using this public good in Europe called the SpaceNet. Of course, lawyers have their own circles, and if I would be giving a talk in Coimbra, where they have a big tradition of law, they would be very interested in different databases that the EPO curates. All right? So it is from that source that every year we have a portrait of what happened in the previous year regarding the evolution of patenting. So it is of a great joy for those who work at the EPO that the world looks to Europe, looks to the European Patent Office as a credible source for having protected knowledge. So there is a big demand for this tool that we call a European patent. You have the top applicants. It's easy to see that they are basically information and communication technology applicants. You can see what are the countries that originate most of the applications. So this tremendous amount of information can now be further unpacked. For instance, to look into who are the key actors that are innovating and protecting their innovations. And this will be my last lap in my presentation. I will talk about a new unit in the Patent Office in which I'm located, and it is the Observatory of Patents and Technology. And the observatory has this goal of further tooling up entrepreneurs, universities, and decision makers with more resources to pursue their own agendas. So one thing that I will present to you as an example of a product or a tool is what we call these SpaceNet platforms. And one of the most pioneering ones, one of the first of these platforms. So this is like a mask you put on top of the database and you filter out only those patents that are in tune with a certain theme. In this case, it was firefighting technologies. And you see for countries like Portugal, Ioannis, countries like Greece, but I remember also a summer in which there was a fire, a forest fire in Sweden. You remember as well, yeah? They were not expecting. They, of course, saw countries like us in the Mediterranean region as the usual suspects. But this technology is important to mitigate the impact of climate change. Actually, I was very happy to know that the Portuguese Patent Office was at the forefront of this project, and in the staff, in the team, a former student of mine was involved in this project, so I was very happy for that. And this is how it looks. Another resource, and bear in mind, this is barely a year old. It's the Deep Tech Finder, and this is for free, and this is extremely important monitoring device to know who is doing what in the startup scene in Europe. And Europe here is defined as more than the EU, so more member states. So I will challenge you to see, just Google it if you want, but go into the website of the office and get acquainted with this new resource that, for instance, for investors is quite critical. Including, we have information regarding the level of maturity of the startup. Hopefully, in the future, other countries, other regions, I could imagine India, I could imagine China, they could emulate this new tool. So any startup having a patent is a blip in the radar. This is very new, indeed. Very useful, I would say. Just yesterday, and this will be my final 100 meters, just yesterday a new study, which is another product of the observatory, was launched. The most comprehensive study ever done on university innovation, defined as those universities that we know have a patent. So this is our strict definition of innovative university here. This was just launched yesterday. So this is very new, and this is very big. So 2 decades of empirical information regarding what is going on in Europe in terms of the participation, active participation of universities as protagonists of the innovation process. So I will not give you too heavy details. The report is not only available, but the video of the launch event is available, and some key stylized facts may be of interest. So, Mr. Vice Dean, of the total patents that have been applied for in Europe to the European Patent Office, 10% are by universities. This is not marginal, not marginal. These are very high quality patents. It's expensive to have one of these. So they reveal a commitment to knowledge transfer or to manage what is strategic assets coming from university research. So universities have a way to elude measurement. Many times they are not, universities I mean, are not so esteemed by policymakers because much of the outcome of the work is invisible. For instance, not all university patents are patented by universities. Many times, vehicles like startups emerging from universities, those are the patentees. The owner of the startup may be a professor, the CEO may be a postdoc or a doctoral student. In this study, we were able to rein in these indirect patents as part of our definition of the indicator. The blue line tells you that over time, more and more indirect patents have been incorporated into the formal channels of patenting of the university. This is by no means universal in the European countries, but for instance in Portugal, this is the case. More and more patents are basically applied for formally by the university. In the old days, many professors will do it by their own means. Yeah? Now, the technology transfer offices give an help. But for instance, in Scandinavia, you don't see this pattern. Many times you have still the professor's privilege. Many individuals at the university level go themselves through the patenting process, and this idea that we had in the old times that Scandinavian countries were very collectivist and social democrat, now you see that they are very individualist in their patenting strategies. So we have variety in the usage of the patent possibility. And actually, this is also revealed by other characteristics of our data. So we were able to map 1,200 European universities. You see countries like Germany, France, and big countries, of course. UK, Italy, they are by far the biggest countries in academic patents, but you also have other countries that are smaller, but very effective. On a per capita basis, they are very patent intensive. And of course, you have Switzerland, you have Belgium, you have Austria, countries like that. There is a number of other correlations that are interesting. Regions in Europe that already patent a lot because they have many manufacturing companies, they see also many university patents being issued. In countries like Portugal, the weight of universities in total patenting is higher than average. Because, of course, a country like Portugal doesn't have so many multinationals that are doing exports on the basis of technical innovation. So what happens here is that you have some indications that in catching up economies, the universities are actually doing the fight. And Mr. Dean, Mr. Vice Dean, you know that more and more is being demanded on universities to do more and more with the same budget. But you can see here that universities have been, punching above their weight in countries like ours, in which patenting is not a big tradition. You see? So they are actually putting the average of the country itself higher. This is just to tell you that you have some patterns that show a number of other characteristics, like, for instance, co-patenting happens with not only large manufacturing companies, but in some countries like France or Spain, public research institutions, organizations, specialized state-owned institutions are the partners of universities. Many times these institutions are having their own agenda for geology, for energy. So these are important characteristics of some countries like France and Spain, but not others. So you have a variety of situations. And here you have the ranking of the universities that patent the most. You see an university from Switzerland, you see immediately an university from the UK. And the point I was trying to make to you is that universities many times are not alone. And in this case, which is interesting for the Portuguese context, 12% of the patents of universities are associated with startups. This may tell us that there is a big regeneration going on of the economic tissue that the universities are promoting. So not just big companies, not just the public research organizations, but the new startups. This will be important for Portugal. So this is the Portuguese data for the past 2 decades. What we see is that there was a period of growth. Then you see a hiccup. This happened in many countries. This happened in Greece. Guess why? These were the Troika years. And this slump was afterwards surpassed. And in the Portuguese case, you see that not only absolute numbers are big, but if we do some calculations regarding relative performance, Portugal performed at a speed that is higher than average, and even higher than the world average. And it's important to stress the world average because sometimes you see large European countries stagnating, but you have other geographies outside Europe that are very vibrant in terms of patenting. And Mr. Draghi told us something that you already knew, that they are especially called US and China. So when Portugal is actually catching up and converging and being faced with the world average, you should keep in mind that this performance is actually quite good. So Portugal is small in terms of patenting, but actually speeding up. And we see now in what areas. Most of the areas are drawing from classic strengths in chemistry and organic chemistry in Portugal. But we see new developments in the last decade in the medtech area. This medtech area also includes instrumentation, and we have some dotted performance in ICTs, information and communication technologies. Yeah, you see that we have more data for Portugal regarding who is patenting, in partnership with whom. And this may be of local interest because now we have the ranking for Portugal itself. We see Porto, Lisboa, and we see Nova, Minho, Aveiro in the top 5, and University of Algarve just made it to the top 20. Yeah, so it will be interesting to know what is the story behind the patents at the University of Algarve. Yeah, so this now it's possible. Mostly, yeah, public universities. but then you can qualify, you can comment, you can show different aspects. And I'm now going to my last slide, finally. So to say that in Europe, you see that EPO is part of the innovation system. The innovation systems are very national still in Europe. Universities show this because when they patent with another partner, it's a local partner. It's usually not cross-border partner. And we see that Portugal still is not a big player, of course, not even in relative terms, but in terms of fighting the fight over time, the news are good, and of course public authorities could reflect about that. Thank you.